There we go, and we're live.
We are live. You know what? Go for it.
This is episode 2 of What's Happening, Uwe, and we're going over game creation and game design in an ongoing series. And hopefully, we have the sound working this week.
It does show everything.
We're all tested and ready to go. So, if you've got questions or comments, feel free to chime in the comments section, and we'll be watching that.
And we had, that was C.C. Snyder, of course, Uwe Eickert here, and we are going to continue with our discussions from last week. So thanks, everybody. See, people are stopping by, and thanks for all the great comments and suggestions last week. Hello.
Okay. So last week we talked about game creation and meeting with game designers and talking publishing and what are you going to do or not do? What are you looking for in a game designer? What kind of thoughts are starting to go through your head when you're designing your own games? So now you've got a game concept and a gameplay engine. What comes next?
Well, what we discussed last week, and we're going to go over more in the coming weeks as CC has done. And we want to really go into the details on how to not only analyze what you've designed and really find out what's working, what isn't, but also analyze what other games have been doing, what the trends are in the gaming market, and some of the advancements that's been done. And then we're also going to go through what we do internally. We've been very lucky that most of our games, well, every single one of our games has been a very good seller. And about 80% of them have won Game of the Years, either through the Board Game Geek, the Dice Tower, the Origins Awards, Fan Favorites Awards, International Awards. So from that standpoint, it has allowed us to really critically analyze not only our own game designs, but other people's. And we're very lucky that we have a very, very good team here at Academy Games and also around the world, made up of mostly engineering nerds, psychologists, biologists, people like that. So from that standpoint, we've really tried to take the game design and break it down. So this week, we're going to, again, pose that question we did last week. What makes your game fun? And we need that quick elevator pitch, that 30-second, what makes your game, number one, fun? Then, what makes it strategic and unique? And thirdly, then, how do these all tie together? So the fun aspect of the game, the strategic, be it engine building, be it a strategic movement, control, different things like that. And then what makes it unique? What makes it different than the other games out there? Because there's so many thousands of games being published every year that the unique factor is also very, very key. Now, all of these have to be balanced very well. So you don't want to just go on the unique, oh, we've got these cool miniatures, and then the gameplay really stinks. Or it's a really incredible, unique gameplay mechanics, but it's no fun to play. So today we're going to just concentrate on the fun aspect of game design.
Okay. So, and we'll go into the deep dive. We got plans for another series where we put Uwe in front of a even bigger whiteboard than the one you see over his shoulder there. What do you think of if you think the idea of a Professor Uwe a gaming show on game design? We might be able to find a white coat for him. So leave a comment in the comment section.
I want to do it up in our conference room where we've got big old built-in open the doors where I can draw, and
the marketing team keeps telling him no.
Yeah, puts me here. So I got my whiteboard where I do my watercolors on, and they even got me different colored markers. So it's going to be good. So
okay, so today we're only talking the fun part,
right?
Game design. So what's next?
Right. Can I have my mouse by any chance?
Yeah.
I need my mouse.
Let's put that down.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you can go back up. I just want to see really how we're going to break it down, what we were going to talk about. So today we're going to be talking about the fun section. Then next week, we're going to talk about the strategic, what makes your game strategic and unique. And then most important, how do the strategic and unique aspects of your game design support and enhance the fun factor. And these are all very little subtle things that many designers don't think of. They do it just by gut feel, by lots of play testing, people talking, giving them suggestions, and then if they're lucky, they hit it. But if we analyze it and really get thinking about what makes a game fun and what supports this fun factor, not only from a design of our experience of playing games, but also from a psychological factor that the fields of psychology are just growing so quickly. And a lot of our guys, that's what we read. We're reading psychology, addiction, what makes people not only addicted to gambling, but other substances, things like that. And it all really ties in together. And it may be the wrong thing to say, but you as a game designer want to make your game like a crack cocaine of game playing, that people, they want to play your game over and over again. So all of these little parts are parts of game design that we've really broken down and analyzed and used internally. So today we're going to talk about the fun cycle and the fun part of game design. So the first thing I ask is the fun, what makes us want to get addicted to things and play over and over again is this standard dopamine cycle. What we call this, we named it the dopamine cycle just because one of the chemicals and one of the best known reactions, brain reactions in humans is that dopamine pop.
That's the pleasure hormone, right?
The pleasure hormone that just, you do something, your body goes, ooh, I like that. Give me more of that. And that is one of the problems with addiction, is that you get used to that, and all of a sudden, if it's no longer there, depression, and also you have to then augment it with other things that get the cycle going. So let's look at in the gaming industry and in general, what is this dopamine cycle? And what I ask people is, when do you think that dopamine goes off, CC? Is it, let's say I am sitting on a field and let's say we're back in the Stone Age. We're in development of our whole humans as our brain is developing. And we're sitting there and we're kind of hungry. And we're sitting on this field. And I've given this example before, and I think it's a very good one. We're sitting on this field, nicely, little rise. We can look around. The sun's shining on us. We're scratching a little here and there, get some of those bugs off of us, but we're a little hungry. We look across that field, and we see an apple tree. We're like, oh, that apple tree looks good, but I'm sitting in the sun, feels so good. All right, I'm going to get off my butt, and I'm going to start walking across that field to get to that apple tree. Are there tigers? The tension goes up. My apprehension goes up. My heart rate starts going. My blood is pounding. I'm looking around. I start going a little quicker, trying to get to that apple tree. I finally make it to the apple tree safely. I see a beautiful apple. I pop that apple off the tree. I take a big, juicy bite. When are my hormones? When is that dopamine popping?
So that's after you get the fight or flight reflex starts to go away and you sense that release. When
is that popping going up?
When you
take a bite of the apple. And that's what most people think. They think is when you get the reward is when it really goes off. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what's so important in game design. It's exact opposite. That's when it dies.
It's the tension?
It crashes. No. It's when you make a decision and you take the action to get off your butt and start walking. That's when the pleasure goes off. Because historically, for you to spend the energy, you're basking in the sun, but your body says, I need that. And you don't want to do it because, it's energy. There are tigers out there. Who wants to do it? You get up. You got to get a reward. So you do that bad part. Once you get what the body wants and you take that succulent bite, it doesn't care anymore and it drops off. So a very good example of that is when you're doing slot machines. In slot machines, you pull the lever, you watch things go tick, 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 and all of a sudden you get 3 sevens and all the money comes out. Are you happy? You take your money and leave?
I do,
No.
but I'm cheap.
You're cheap. But the majority, the people addicted to gambling, it isn't the winning or losing of money. It's the action of deciding and pulling that lever.
So you're telling me if I stop procrastinating that it'll feel good?
If you stop what now?
Procrastinating.
I know procrastinating is a very good decision to take also. As long as, while you're sitting there, someone's feeding you pizza and fast food.
Okay.
But I don't know. I can't say there since I'm a big proponent of procrastination myself. And not in game design. I don't want to hear anybody bitching about where's that game moving, that next game. But so that is a number one thing we have to really learn is that we have these cycles going on. And it is the decision making, the critical decision making of making a decision to do something that pops off the dopamine. Then we get apprehension, tension building, if it's designed correctly in the game. Then the conclusion or the end result of my decision, the reward or no reward,
right.
It crashes, and then we want to start all over again. So we call this our dopamine cycle: decision, anticipation, resolution. So we have our decision, anticipation, and resolution. Those are the big things there. And I hope I spelled decision correctly.
Close enough.
So when we make the decision in a game, and modern game design is so much different than old game design. In old game design, it was roll a die, go so many spaces, and make A or B decision. And that was a very fundamental of the cycle, be it Monopoly or other games, Chutes and Ladders, everything we've been trained on, it's like roll a die. Now, modern day game design is putting more and more and more decision factors into the game. And that's so very important because decision making is, again, what pops it off. And in future meetings here, sit downs with our coffee. So I've got my coffee this time, but just in case I drink too much coffee and I start talking too quick, I also have my water here. They won't allow schnapps anymore, so because those talks didn't go very well.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, exactly. So the decision, anticipation, resolution cycle is very, very important. Now, when we are looking at this, we have a short-term cycles, and then we also have long-term cycles in the game. And first, let's talk about the short-term cycle. In a game design, one of the things that every game designer should look at is that they have to, when I ask them, what is your game about? And as I said, 3 factors in a game that we look at: fun, strategic, and what makes it unique. So we're looking at this fun part right now. You have to be able to tell us in 10 to 30 seconds what makes your game fun, what makes it strategic, and what makes it unique. And by strategic, it could be anything from engine building to area control to objective gaining, event-driven things. So we're going to go through the strategic and unique next time. But the fun cycle, you have to be able to come down and tell us exactly what it is. And when we ask people that, a lot of people go, what makes your game unique, fun? What is your game? Give it to us in a nutshell. What makes it so good? To go, oh, well, I have lots of a great, incredible story. Every game says it has great story. That is not that thing, that dopamine cycle that keeps you going. Or they'll say, oh, I've got incredible miniatures. Well, we all know you can have the best looking miniatures in the world, but the gameplay engine stinks.
And you can go get miniatures all on their own.
Exactly. So you have to, as a game designer in your game or in your favorite game, what makes it fun? What is that one thing that you go, that is what makes this game great?
Can you give me an example of a game?
I'm going to go into this a lot more in the future. But for example, let's look at, for example, in our 1775, which is a very simple area control game. And in that game, there are 2 quick cycles. But it is a game where, number one, you're rolling dice and having your own men run away, which is that addictive cycle in a very simple visual way. And the other part is, in the longer term, the strategic, which we're going to get into next week, is the team play, team decision making. So the cooperative wheeling dealing portion and seeing if it's successful, and then the short term, roll the dice, see if it's successful. Now, if, let's stay with 1775, if we see that this is successful, the most important thing is that we want to increase this cycle.
Replicate it, make it happen.
We want to make this wavelength cycle as short as possible.
Okay.
So if I found out what is fun about this game, I want to replicate that action for every player in the game as quickly as I can. I don't want to have to sit and wait 5 or 10 minutes till it's my next turn. I do not get any pleasure going off watching you take your turn.
You're not allowed to play games with my kids then.
Why is that? They
take forever.
Well, they're your kids. You spike your coffee and you take a sip, and that's your little pleasure center every time. A spike with milk, of course.
Right.
So anyway, so the cycle is very, very important. Now, the next thing we look at, and we're going to go into more examples of this entire system, what we're talking about in the coming 2 weeks, after we talk about the strategic, the other portions of the game design, the strategic and the uniqueness. Because once these are all put together, the strategic and uniqueness have to support this dopamine cycle of the games. Also, in future talks, we're going to go through our ladder diagramming, where we ladder diagram all the gameplay aspects and the decision-making aspects, define the top and bottom boundaries of where this dopamine cycle fits within it, and then try to design out everything outside of this that hampers and keeps you from staying on track with your dopamine cycle.
So is this basically done by turn, how quickly your turn happens, and how
it could be how quickly your turn happens, how quickly you take this action within people's turns. What if there are no turns? What if it's like a cooperative, continuous game? How often you have to make these decisions?
You just get to interact with the game.
Interaction in this the fun aspects. And you can have more than one, could be even two. I've seldom seen more than 2 dopamine cycles going on in the fun. Now, there are 2 type of, again, dopamine cycles and type of emotional aspects. We have, of course, our pathos, our short-term emotional, fun, instant gratification. And then we have our logos, our longer-term strategic engine building satisfaction rushes. So we're going to get into that a little later. But so we have now our cycle going on here. We want to increase this as quickly as possible. So if you see it going too slow, you have to take out all this other junk in your game that slows down this decision-making cycle. Secondly, then, we want to heighten the anticipation, the amplitude of these waves. A perfect way to do this, like in blackjack, doubling down.
Okay.
Or in poker, multiple times of betting. Every time you're betting, more money's going in. You're making more decisions. You're risking more.
So that's Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em, going up and up. Walking across that field. Well, if it's just a nice big field, well, you made the decision, you got your pleasure. I'm going to walk off and get that apple. Now there are tigers and lions and bears and snakes. Anticipation, resolution going up. Okay? So in game design, start thinking that way. Find that one fun factor in your game. Find out how you can increase the amplitude, the tension, and then how can you compress that cycle. So that's our fast cycle. Now let's look at the long emotional cycles in the game. An aspect of this which was done beautifully by Brian Mayer in our Freedom of the Underground Railroad game, this one right here. There, you're making decisions. You're moving slaves, helping slaves, making their way to freedom, advancing the abolitionist cause, getting money in. These are all short-term, real quick decision-making, pathos type of quick dopamine pumps. But then in that game, you'll also notice that the game is designed that at the beginning, everything goes easy for the players. It's a cooperative game against the bad game in the games. We then made that in the beginning, everything goes easy. But then all of a sudden, when you get through the first phase of that game, going to the next game, we made it on purpose very difficult. We made it so hard that the game is designed that on average, 60% of people will lose. And it all happens in that second cycle of the game. So it was real easy. All of a sudden, it gets very difficult, and we have a whole emotional downturn. The group starts getting quiet. It's almost depressed. They're talking more. They're trying to see what they're doing. They're frustrated because it looks like they can't win the game. And then if they get through the second cycle, the second phase into the third, the game ends really quick and you win or lose. Now, we designed it that you lose 60% of the time, but we made it real fun, real difficult downer, and then a real at the end where the hope comes up again and we slam you and you either win or lose.
It's an emotional climax either way.
Emotional climax either way. So that is that long cycle that we're talking about. So you can have one or two cycles, your quick dopamine cycle and your long emotional cycle. This is your engine building. This is your long-term decisions. I'm going to concentrate on marketing. No, I'm going to concentrate on being the trader. No, I'm going to concentrate on being the brick manufacturer layer. No, I'm going to concentrate on being the banker in this game. Your long-term goals and your satisfaction from it. So what I want people to really think about in the game design is check out what are your fun factors and your long-term and your short-term cycles. Your short-term dopamine cycle and then your long-term logos type of game development. So that's about it for today's talk.
All right. Well, that is it.
Well, we have some. Should we go through some questions?
Well, it looks like they're pretty much getting what you're putting down in the questions there. It's not just quick turns or quick actions or repetition. It's how many interactions you're getting with the game.
Right, and also he says this is Eric Edens. He says like an engine builder, the fun is upgrading. Yeah, that can be your fun part. If in this engine building that you're making a decision, will I get to upgrade or won't I? It has to be a decision with a plus or minus effect. And that cycle of making a decision is so key. And we're going to get more into this in the future of what modern game design is really supporting this decision-making, this critical thinking function. And that's what makes the difference between the old Eurotrash, which was beautiful when it came to quick, just through dice rolling type of
quick cycles.
But now we're looking for that longer also engine building, making decisions, and that then supporting your quick cycle.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Leave a comment, join in the conversation, and let us know what your thoughts and questions are. We've got a lot more videos planned, and we could use your input. If you like this video and you like what we're trying to do, hit the like button. It's right below. If you're new to the page, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That's down that way. And there's a notification bell right over there next to it so you don't miss any of the new videos. If you missed any of the previous episodes in this series of What's Happening Uwe, just click or tap right there. And if you want to see any trailers for some of the games that we've got for offer, just click or tap right over there. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and play nicely, my friends.
And also, a lot of these ones we're going to be having in the future, we want a lot of interaction, a lot of talking going on. So we'll see you then.